Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of 33 Founders. We're here this morning with Umang and Oshin, the co-founders of HandyBooks. So thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks, guys. Great to talk to you today.
So now let's say that I need my house cleaned or this breakfast nook assembled. How is HandyBook going to help me get that done?
So Handy has got to be the easiest way to book all the home services you need. You just go to the Handy mobile app or handy.com and you can instantly go through the booking process. So if you want to get your home cleaned, you just put in whatever your apartment is, a one bed, one bath, whatever your zip code is. It'll instantly confirm the price and availability, and you can book a home cleaner in about 30 seconds.
Not bad.
So now in only 9 months, Handy has scaled 10 times over, which is 60% month to month. So what are some of the strategies for other founders to scale their startups?
Look, I think we've been very lucky. We've hit a really big market. So the volume of home services getting booked in the US is just phenomenal. Like it's just a very big market. We've hit a product that really fits with consumers. I think, you'll notice that people share a lot. They'll share on social media, they'll share on Facebook or on Twitter when their apartment's incredibly well cleaned, and something that really works for service pros. So it's so easy to be a service pro on HandyBook, and that's kind of what's allowed us to scale, I guess, fastest.
Yeah,
and how are you?
To your question about advice for other founders, I think the only thing if you're in the right market, like Oshin said, I think beyond that, it's just about staying focused, right, and executing. And you could get carried away and think about other cool ideas and other options, and they're all sort of valid things to do at some point, but I think the number one thing is just staying extremely focused. If you know something's working, double down on it and just move as fast as you can.
And now, how are you focusing on managing company culture while scaling?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've gone from 25 people 12 months ago, or 9 months ago, sorry, to about 150 people today, and they're spread across 27 cities, and that's always going to be a challenge. About how do you identify what the things are, what the issues are, and how do you focus on those things? And I think it's a whole range of things, from communicating clearly to lots of team events, and really putting a big effort on bringing the team together as much as possible.
On that note, I was telling Chase, I've always been really curious about how when you guys have like your HandyBook core team, and then you have a lot of contractors who go out and do the jobs. How do you include them in your culture so they feel a part of everything?
I think the number one thing you do is you just, as a platform, obviously we have people all around the world, people we don't see obviously often, and I think the number one thing for us is to have a platform that's extremely fair, I would say, and the policies and the different sort of rules around being on our platform are very clear and transparent. And I think as long as we do that, and as long as we're very quick to get back and address concerns and questions and issues, and payments obviously hugely important. You pay people for their jobs that they do on time, etc. I think that starts to build this level of loyalty, I would say, to the platform and to the brand that's extremely important. And I think that's where we focused more than saying how can we do elaborate team events where we have thousands of people showing up and things like that.
And so that's why they're not taking their business off the site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to a large extent. I think obviously we do a bunch also to reward them for keeping their work on the platform. But to a large extent, you're right. It's the more loyalty you build up, the more sort of they stay engaged.
Great. So you guys raised $30 million this summer, which was huge. And with such a competitive industry, how did you guys approach venture capitalists and market your pitch to them?
Look, I think this comes back to what venture capitalists are looking for. They're looking for they're looking for companies that are solving really big problems. So the market, as I said, for home service is $1 trillion market. They're looking for teams that have significant momentum. So, as we talked about, the growth we've seen in HandyBook has just been phenomenal. And I think that idea that you're targeting a really big market with a product that already has significant momentum, I think that steps you out from the crowd, in a pretty large way to start with. And then you dig in and you say, okay, well, look, we've built an incredible team. We've got a leadership team that's best in class, and we've got we've got something that's doing something that's probably quite good for the world. So it's got something where your service pros really enjoy using the product, they really enjoy earning money on the platform, and you've got customers that, again, it's the same thing. They really enjoy using the product because it saves them a lot of time. So it's probably the overlap of those things that makes the story quite compelling.
Great, and I know you guys work with advisors like Steve Case and David Tisch. What are you learning from them?
I think with every advisor, it's a little different. So you're leaning into different people for different skill sets. With Steve, it was really this focus on local. So when he first went out and pushed AOL, it was the most local phone number that won. So I think it resonates very clearly with what we're doing, which is you've got to have the pro that's closest to you, whether that's a cleaner or a handyman. You're looking for the person that's really near so that you can optimize for travel time and you really drive into winning local markets. And it's not about winning each city, it's actually about winning each zip code that you're in. And I think that focus on local is probably what we took from hanging out with Steve.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of people like Steve Case and a bunch of other people who have built really, really big in businesses, I think it's always great to see, because we're already thinking what the next year looks like, what the next move looks like, who are the type of people we want to hire, how do we want to expand, how do we want to grow this, and getting advice from people who either have a ton of experience having worked with other successful companies, maybe one stage ahead or two stage ahead, who have done it themselves, is obviously invaluable. It's just a shortcut. We could learn it ourselves, or we could get advice from people you trust and just skip a step or two.
So that gives me the perfect transition into what I wanted to ask you next. You guys recently hired a new CFO, Jeff Peterson from Amazon. I know this is a little bit early on for a startup team, to bring on a senior executive. What did you look for in a big leader on your team when you were seeking someone?
Look, I think when you go out for anyone on the team, you're looking for people that meet the core values that you've kind of set up. So for us, those are people who are super smart, who are focused on having a good time, who enjoy having fun, who believe that what we're doing has a positive impact, who always want to be part of something that's growing and want to grow personally. And then the last point is to have a level of urgency around what they're doing. So to do something today, not tomorrow. And those are kind of the base level. When you step up past that and you say, okay, what do you want from an executive on the team? I think it's a little different, in that, you mentioned that it might be a little early for us to bring somebody in, but the business is doing such a large volume of transactions at this point that it was quite important for us to get ahead of the curve on financial operations in the business, because there's so many moving parts. It's doing tens of thousands of transactions on a weekly basis. It's got customers and service pros across 28 cities. It's logistically intensive, and that creates a kind of a financial operational issue where you really need to have deep financial expertise. And I think that was one of the things we were looking for when we went out looking for the CFO role. And I think with Jeff, we're so happy he's on the team. It's a great hire for us.
That's great.
And so now, what about hiring just in general? I mean, you guys have grown from 20 to 150 employees. So, I mean, how do you approach bringing on these new team members?
Well, it depends, obviously, on the type of people you're bringing on and what sort of role they're going to play. But I think our philosophy has been, like Oshin said, we've narrowed down sort of what we think our culture is to some degree. The things he said about moving fast, executing, sort of thinking big. And that sort of carries through no matter whether it's the junior most person or someone like, Jeff, who you're bringing on in a very senior capacity. And so our philosophy, I think, which has helped us, and it's always challenging. Hiring is one of those things you can never, you're never sort of satisfied. You always need more people, or you want people in a different role, or you're always sort of questioning how you can get better and make the interview process more sort of efficient. So it's always a sort of work in progress. But I think what we've done well is we've narrowed down what are the sort of values we look for in a person. We have somewhat of a clear hiring plan as to who do we need to bring on this month, next month, over the next 6 months. And even though, because we've grown so fast, we actually don't have a separate recruiting team or a separate HR team. Everyone here is kind of doing some recruiting. And obviously they're both good and bad to that. But the good thing is I think everyone is super involved. Everyone has a sort of stake in the other people they bring on the team. And given that there's no one person's responsibility to go find 100 people, I think it's just helped us sort of move fast, get the right people, and get that ownership. So I think that's helped us over the last sort of year, and hopefully we can keep it that way.
So how are you conducting background checks? Because it's not easy to get people to let you into their homes.
So we take obviously that part of the onboarding supply very, very seriously, and I think that's one of the sort of competencies that we've built up. 2 years in, we've focused a lot. We've got an entire operations team just thinking about how they're onboarding professionals onto the platform. So we run background checks. We use third-party service providers that we have a couple of them that do the background checks essentially for us, and they plug into these national databases that look at criminal records. Then they go one step further and look at county level searches, so the counties you've lived at specifically, and they're pretty exhaustive. And if someone has a discrepancy, unfortunately they're not on the platform.
And then managing them and client expectations, what software are you using to handle scheduling and CRM?
We've actually built all of that in-house ourselves. So all of our push notification, all of our transaction software, all of that has been built by the team directly behind me. We built that in-house.
Yeah.
Great. So we want to close with talking about the future for you guys. You guys have a goal of being the remote control for things that need to get done in the home. And there's a lot of competition in your space. So what needs to happen in the next 12 months for you guys to feel entirely successful?
I think this is about going deeper into the homes that we're already in, deeper into the cities that we're already in. It's less about expanding for us into doubling the number of cities that we're in today. It's more about shrinking the latency in booking, so making it even easier to book home services. And if you need a cleaner right now, next day is what we're typically offering. We want to get it to a place where it's cleaner within 12 hours, cleaner within 6, within 3, within 1 hour. We want to continue to shrink that down so that we've got liquidity that's just incredible on both sides of the platform. So if you're a cleaner, but there's always work for you. If you're a handyman, there's always work. And similarly, if you're a customer, we want you to have instant booking with instant service. And I think that's really the core focus over the next 12 months. It's to continue growing out the cities that we're already in, continue to build out a great team, continue to add service providers to the platform, and just grow the business at the pace we've been growing. So I think the next 12 months are going to be very, very exciting for us.
Yeah, I think we're at that interesting point where we're going from, this is a fast-growing startup, and now we're starting to think of ourselves more as a brand. How do people around the country, around the world, obviously, especially right now in the cities we're actually in, what do they think of? Do they know us? What do they think of when they think about Handy? And then increasingly, when they think about any service they need done at home, how can we make sure we're the first company, we're the first service they think of? And I think that's the next 12 months, which is, all right, this is growing really well, we built a good product, we have a good team, and now how do we make sure, just like Uber did, just like Airbnb did, how do we go from this cool, fast-growing startup to an actual brand, a company that's resonates with millions of people.
Great. Well, we're confident you guys are going to do that pretty fast. Can we end with you telling us how people can get on Handy and start booking services?
Sure. If you just download the Handy mobile app, or if you go to handy.com, you can instantly make a home cleaning booking.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.